You're tuned in to Ask the Master Auto Technician. Car questions? Get answers right now. Call 850-763-0555.
James Auto Center, we fix it right, guaranteed. Beep, 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 yeah.
All right, good morning, everybody. It's Friday morning show. I have Hansson Hindenburg calling all the way from Baytown Tires, and every week he normally has some bit of advice for you about how to keep your car on the road lasting longer, whether it's from repacking your wheel bearings to changing your tires when they're too old or whatever. So what advice do we have this morning for us, Hansson? Do you have anything you'd like to tell people or advise them about their maintenance on their vehicles?
Well, we talk about the same stuff every week, so it gets maybe a little bit boring to everybody. But, consistency is the spice of life. My advice this week is come up with a plan and follow that plan on your second most expensive investment that you have in your life.
Now, we see people who really take care of their car the first 100,000 miles. They do, they change the oil like they're supposed to. They do all the maintenance requirements. And then when they get about 100,000 miles, they let that go away. They don't think it's quite as important again. And then all of a sudden, things just kind of go to heck in a handbasket. And I tell them, I say, that's because you've slacked off doing the maintenance. You cannot stop doing it. Once you start doing it, if you want that car to get another 100,000 miles, you've got to continue to change their fluids. And they say, well, my owner's manual says I can go 1 year between oil changes. And I said, yeah, they're in business to sell you a car. They only want to get you through the warranty period, and you've got 100,000 miles. There is no warranty on a car. And what do you think about these 1 year oil changes that are being done by Mercedes and BMW, and people, they believe them. I mean, even Mobile One's advertising 1 year oil changes. I tell
I see cars that people consistently change their oil 5,000 to 6,000 miles, and they're driving it at 200,000 miles. And like you said, others love to go 8,000 to 10,000 miles. And like you said, at 100,000 miles, things have consistently start falling apart. So
yeah, they do.
And you're absolutely right. Car companies are in the business of selling more cars. Mm-hmm. So when they write that service manual, and some of them even had to revise it, like GM, because they started to have issues way before 100,000 miles, at 40 and 50,000 miles.
Right. The same thing, one time General Motors had it on your oil change to do it every 7,500 miles, and they had a little warning on there, your dash, time to change your oil, you're at 80% or 90%. Well, we found out, along with General Motors, if they followed that, they were changing timing chains really, really more often under warranty, and they didn't like that. So they dropped that down from 7,500 down to 3,500 miles, cut it in half, and they're recommending at least a semi-synthetic blend oil just to get them through warranty. And I tell people, if you just do that, the minimum, you will get through warranty, but not much past that. I recommend changing oil. Don't go past 5,000 miles. Use full synthetic oil. Use the best filter, the best fluids, and if you only go 5,000 miles a year, drive your car, change your oil once a year. But but most people, you and I know, they'll put 1,000 to 1,500 miles a month on a car, and it's not uncommon for them to go 15,000 miles a year. And they need to change their oil at least twice a year with full synthetic oil. Do you recommend changing it more often with full synthetic, more than every 5,000 to 6,000 miles? I know.
No, I think 5 or 6 are a good baseline to go with on all changes. Mm-hmm. And every 6 months is my other recommendation. If you don't go that many miles in a year,
right,
at least you'll get a good look at all the fluids, get a good look at the brakes, get a good look at the tires. Well, because even if you don't change your oil, you need to rotate your tires every 6 months, no matter what.
Absolutely. I tell people that all the time. They just kind of look at me, well, I've never heard of that. And I said, well, trust me, it's there. Hansson talks about it. But I tell people this. We can smell in the crankcase with our 5-gas machine. And when they come in here, if these people are only doing 5,000 miles a year, and I say, please, I want to see you at 6 months. And they say, what for? I said, well, you may not need oil change, but I still want to look at your car. It's under warranty. It doesn't cost you anything. They look at me like, nothing. I said, it's part of our warranty. I want to see you every 6 months, whether I do an oil change or not. I want to inspect your car. I want to keep you as a customer. I want to check the air in your tires. I want to check your fluid levels. I want to check all these things. And you may need something. I don't know what you need. You may not need an oil change, but you may need to have your brake fluid changed. You may need to have your transmission fluid changed. But please, I want to look at your car at no charge every 6 months, because what we found out is there's a lot of other things that people forget about, such as brake fluid or differential fluid or transfer case fluid or transmission fluid. Those are fluids that still need to be changed, but a lot of people just don't think about them because, well, they're out of sight, out of mind.
Well, and you're absolutely right. You know, we see all the time that a differential leaks on trucks, and that's something that you can't really check or see unless you're underneath the car.
Right.
And you have pinion seals that leak or axle seals that wind up leaking. And you go, well, if you wait, a year before you look at it again, then all of a sudden you start rebuilding the rear end because they've been run low on fluid. And the first indicator is noise.
Isn't that the truth? I remember my wife's Kia, our Kia. We bought a Kia brand new in 2008, and it was rear-wheel drive. And I looked at it, had a 5-year, 100,000-mile warranty on the drive transfer. Man, that's pretty impressive. And then I looked at it and I said, we want your oil changed every 3,500 miles. And I looked down at it, we want your differential changed every 9,000 miles. We want your transmission fluid changed every 30,000 miles. I'm sitting there going, man, these people sound like they are serious about this car going 100,000 miles. And the reason is, if you don't do those fluid changes, they don't make it. They don't warranty it. They don't cover it under warranty, but we've seen them. You've got to change those fluids in order to get that second 100,000 miles. And what's an average price of today's car to buy a brand new one? $25,000 for an average price car?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
and like you said, people are always astonished by some of the car manufacturers say, hey, you need to change your transmission fluid every 30,000 miles.
Oh, they go, I've never done that. And I go, well, you've never had a car that was an 8-speed transmission either, or a CVT transmission.
And I love the ones that say sealed for life.
Oh, yes. Is there any such thing as a sealed for life transmission?
Well, there is. Usually sealed for life at about 60 or 70,000 miles. You start changing it for another life.
I like that. You talked to Mercedes technician, and it says sealed for life on there, and I said, how long do y'all go before changing transmission fluid on your personal Mercedes? They said, we change it every 40,000 miles. And why is that? I said, we want to get 60,000 miles out of it. That's why we changed it every 40,000 miles. I said, are you serious? I said, once you get past that 100,000 miles, if you don't change your transmission fluid on these Mercedes at 80,000 miles your first time, and then every 40 to 60 after that, you won't get 300,000 miles. You won't get 200,000 miles out of that transmission, and they average about $8,000 a transmission.
And you pick on Mercedes, but we see it all the time. Mercedes has had issues because particles start floating around in that transmission and clog up the solenoids, and then it doesn't shift. And then you got to take everything apart and put all new solenoids in there and everything. And like you said, you're looking $6,000 to $8,000 to do a complete rebuild on that transmission.
And we don't rebuild them anymore because we just put box units in it. We buy them that have already been put on a dyno, that have been rebuilt. They've already been pressure tested. They've already been road tested on a dynamometer, and then we install them. The reason is, transmissions are so much more complicated than they've ever been because they're hydraulic, they're electronic, and they're mechanical, all rolled into one. And one grain of sand in the wrong spot can cause you to have a bad hair day. It really can. That's why it's so very, very important that, well, that's why I think the transmission shops, you and I've noticed in the last 10 years, how many transmission shops are there now compared to 10 years ago?
Well, very few, and like you said, that bench rebuilt like it used to be is not the reality anymore.
No.
You really have to have the right equipment, and you want to test that transmission before you put it back into the vehicle. Otherwise, you put the transmission in there and then it doesn't shift correctly. Guess what? You have to take it all back out again and start the whole process. And that takes time, and we want to make sure that we're convenient and return the vehicle pretty quick to our customers, not in 3 or 4 weeks.
No, absolutely. One of the things that we do, and I've seen more shops do this, they're having loaner cars available for customers, especially if they're having to keep their car for more than a day or two, because people need their cars. I mean, we are a very mobile society, and the idea of someone not having their car for 2 or 3 days, it freaks people out. They go, oh my God, how am I going to get to work? So we found out by loaning them a car and making sure they're not inconvenienced, they will spend a little extra money, get a little bit more extra work done, and not have to worry so much about how they're going to get the car taken care of. Because we don't have a trolley system that's, well, we do, but it doesn't work real well. If you want to wait an hour and a half to 2 hours to get to work every day, I guess you can, but most people don't do that.
No, and I even have customers, we try to be convenient like you and have a loaner car or give them a ride or whatever they need, but that's their favorite car. They have 2 or 3 cars, and that's their absolute favorite. Well, the kids can get in and out faster. I have another car. I don't like to shove them all in there.
I know.
So they got to have their favorite car back, at least in a couple of days.
Absolutely, and and it's the hard part is you don't. Transmission work, now I'll be honest with you, when you're doing transmission work or engine work, be prepared to be out of your car, even if you're doing a replacement unit, 3 to 5 days, because you have to order the transmission, you have to get it down, then you have to put it in, take the old one out, put the new one in, change all the parts, get it out, and then go road test it. And then sometimes things still just aren't right. You still have to repair things or correct things, and a lot of times the biggest thing that I see on transmissions that people, when they replace them, is they don't replace the radiator. And I look at them and go, what do you think burned the radiator transmission up in the first place? They go, I have no idea. I said, your radiator, it's a 10-year-old radiator. You're only getting rid of 15 degrees of heat. If you put a brand new radiator in there, you'll find out you're getting rid of 45 to 50 degrees of heat. That little transmission is cooled by your radiator. And they go, I had no idea. I said, well, that's why we're educating you. That's why.
Well, and some manufacturers, both Japanese and American, recommend that you put an auxiliary cooler on there if you ever do a transmission replacement.
Or another radiator. We had one come in the other day. Failure to replace radiator will void warranty. I looked at it and said, looky right here. They're finally telling the truth.
Right.
If you don't change this radiator, we're going to void your warranty. I guess they just got tired of changing transmissions under warranty. And these people are selling us transmissions with bulletproof warranties. We'll tell you, if you follow our instructions, we give you a 3-year unlimited mile warranty transmission. I go, wow. But one of the things they're telling us, change the radiator. They don't even want us putting auxiliary coolers on there. They say, get rid of it. We want a new radiator in this car. And they even include new transmission lines. So Jasper Transmission will include brand new transmission lines. They'll tell you we want brand new transmission lines on them, and we want a brand new radiator in there. That way we don't worry about that transmission failing. And so far, it works pretty good, I think. But
you're right. If you follow all those steps, before some of the transmissions only lasted a couple of years, or you started to have issues, I've seen people get 5 or 6 years, no problem, and get another 100,000 miles out of a rebuilt transmission.
Oh, I've seen people go, well, like myself. I'm going on 250,000 miles on a rebuilt transmission that I rebuilt years ago on my Chevy truck, because one of my helpers here did a transmission service and left the magnet out. And when he left the magnet out, I went about 10,000 miles and my transmission came apart. I took it apart and found it full of metal and there was no magnet in there. And the guy said, this is probably what killed your transmission. We rebuilt it. That was years and years ago, and I've got 250,000 miles on that transmission. But we changed that fluid every 30,000 miles or every 2 years, whichever comes first. Fluid's much cheaper than metal. That's
yes, it is.
All right, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark. Hansson, I got Mark coming on next. I'm going to get him in a few minutes. But thank you so much for being on here being on here this morning. And people can reach you at 873-8900 Monday through Saturday, correct?
That's right. We're here ready to serve. Whatever you need, we can help you with. All
right, sounds good. Give Hansson a call at A-Town Tires, 873-8900. We'll be back in a few minutes with Mark Sarlo. Bye-bye, everybody.
James Auto Center, we fix it right, guaranteed. Beep, beep.